As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month here in March, a chance to sit down with some of the amazing women in the National League Central. Of course, we're going to start out with Taylor McGregor, the marquee sports Cubs beat reporter. We've also got Olivia Ray with WLWT-TV, Cincinnati's sports reporter. Hannah Mears is joining us with Sportsnet Pirates as their sideline reporter. Of course, we have Sophia Minner with the Milwaukee Brewers reporter and FanDuel Sports Network Wisconsin. And we have Katie Wu, the Athletic Cardinals beat reporter. Ladies, it is so amazing to have all of you here with us right now. So many different pieces of each of your careers that I love to glean off of and learn from and look to for that support. But let's talk about the Central here for a minute. There were a few big changes over the offseason. This is a division that I'm really excited about because it does feel like it could be anybody's this year. Cincinnati brings in Terry Francona at the helm, his first time in a Reds uniform. Of course, the Cubs go out and get Kyle Tucker, a big bat there, but just one of many. So what has been the mission statement heading into camp so far this spring? And Taylor McGregor, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think it's simple. In Chicago, win more games. They won 83 games a year ago, and they saw that the standard was Milwaukee with 93. And so that's what they're chasing. And Craig Counsell made it very clear you need better players to win more games. And so the addition of Kyle Tucker was a big one. An offense that really struggled for about 2 months. They finished 7th in the National League in runs per game, but somebody who's going to bring power and who's just an elite talent, not only in the field, but at the plate as well. They're really excited about him. And so if they can just continue to make subtle advances in every single position group and in every way, I think they're hopeful. And they made some additions to the bullpen as well, bringing over Ryan Presley from Houston, which was really important for them to help stabilize the back end of the bullpen early in the season. So I'm excited to see what the Cubs could do this season, but certainly the benchmark has been Milwaukee, and that's what they're chasing at this point.
And we're always going to love that storyline between Milwaukee and the Cubs, for, as you mentioned it, Craig Counsell and every relationship that interties there. Now, Olivia, in Cincinnati, speaking of managers, Terry Francona is obviously not new to the game, but the Reds get him essentially out of retirement and to lead the charge this year. So what's it like for them?
The Reds get a Hall of Fame manager in Tito. He made it clear on day one to his players that this is not a victory lap for him. He wasn't just coming back to scratch the itch, that he's chasing a ring and he believes in this young nucleus that they have. In fact, he told us that he was pacing around at 3:30 a.m. the day that position players reported because he had planned this elaborate speech for the clubhouse. And afterwards, the team told us it was the best speech they had ever heard because of the statements that he made in it. It was about accountability. You are not going to cost your team outs. You are not going to cost your team runs. The Reds, of course, made 97 errors, 5th worst in baseball last year. And that is their mission statement, is to be aggressive, but to be smart about it. And Tito had them ready to run through a brick wall. In fact, that was a direct quote from Brent Suter on the first day of training camp in Goodyear.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can get that audio maybe as an alarm clock for the rest of us to start our mornings. Now, Hannah, for you in Pittsburgh, on the other side of things, yes, Derek Shelton is returning, but a lot of chatter about all these young guys, especially in the rotation. What's it like for the Pirates?
Yeah, it's exciting, first and foremost, when you think about all of those young guys, and they took a step forward as well when it comes to maturity. A really good example of that was Jared Jones a couple of starts ago. He struggled with the couple first hitters in the first inning in one of his outings, and then right after that, we probably would have seen the version of him last year overthrow the ball and put himself in an unsuccessful position, but he didn't. He stuck to his game plan. He knew what he needed to work on, and after that outing, manager Derek Shelton said he's extremely proud of the way Jared Jones showed maturity and handled himself. And that's one of those key pieces to the Pirates' mission statement this year, which is winning. But it's not just about winning more games. Yes, that's the ultimate goal together, but it's the process. What's that process going to be to win? And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they know who they are. They know that they have to win in those margins, and they know they have to do the little things right. And the second part of that is holding one another accountable to this message. Look to the left, look to the right. Are you making the guy beside you better? And one of the things that the Pittsburgh Pirates did this year is bringing in veterans that know what it takes to win. First and foremost, Adam Frazier returns to Pittsburgh, and he rejoins this leadership group that helped him build a foundation for his Major League Baseball career. And then the Pirates added a guy like Tommy Pham. He brings a lot of edge to this team. And they said that, Tommy Pham's a guy that every person they talked to about having him in their clubhouse, they said they agree. They'd want him in their clubhouse because he's a winner. He knows what it takes to win. And he's going to have an influence on a guy like an O'Neal Cruz, for example, that's going to be playing in center field. And then, of course, you talked about that pitching rotation. That's how we started this conversation, adding Andrew Heaney into the mix. He's a guy who won the World Series. And yes, this pitching rotation, though Mitch Keller is at the helm of the leadership, he is still relatively young. So having a guy like Heaney in there only elevates that with this ultimate goal to win and win in Pittsburgh.
Oh, we know the black and yellow have been very hungry for some wins down there. Now, Sophia, for you, Taylor said it, Milwaukee's kind of thrown down the gauntlet. They've raised the bar for what's expected in the Central. What's it like on the inside?
Yeah, look, I think Pat Murphy set the tone really early when he took over as manager last year, and his message was really simple. It was win tonight. And that message is simple, but it really connected with a team that has a really young core. And Milwaukee has kind of built this run since 2018 based on pitching and defense. So as Taylor said, they won 93 games. They won the division by 10 games. They were definitely overlooked last year. Nobody picked them to win the Central, and certainly not by 10 games. Their pitching staff was tested in terms of their depth more than probably any other season. They used 17 different starters. They started the season without their National League Reliever of the Year, Devin Williams. They used 12 different relievers to record saves. And despite all of that, they finished with a 365 team earned run average, which was 5th best in the league. And then they go out and they win the National League Team Gold Glove for the 2nd consecutive season. They have the Platinum winner in Bryce Terang at second base. He was phenomenal, leading the league in defensive runs saved. They had a Gold Glover in right field in Sal Frelick and a Gold Glove finalist in Blake Perkins. And unfortunately, he's dealing with a shin injury right now, so he won't be ready for opening day. But the pitching and the defense showed up for Milwaukee, and so that's going to be true for them again this year. They did revamp their starting rotation. They added Nestor Cortez in that trade with the Yankees, and then just this past week, they signed Jose Quintana. So I think for Pat Murphy and the Brewers, like, they're very comfortable being overlooked. They're comfortable being underestimated. This is not new for them. But I think they feel like they have all of the pieces. They're returning essentially the entire position player group. Oh, by the way, they're hoping to get Brandon Woodruff back in the starting rotation at some point this season. And Christian Yelich is coming back from his back surgery. And he was an all-star last year, on the verge of another batting title. So getting a healthy, productive Christian Yelich back for a full season, I think they're all really excited about what this season could look like for Milwaukee as they try to defend that division title.
I think baseball fans collectively looking at what Yelich has gone through to really push to have this career that he started out with. It's exciting for everybody. Now, Katie, in the Cardinals camp, a lot of people, especially the Cardinal Red, waited to see some big moves come around, and they kind of decided they're going to work with what they have so far. So what is going on there?
Yeah, the Cardinals are in the middle of what they like to call a transition period. Longtime president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, is stepping down at the end of the 2025 season, and Chaim Bloom will take over in 2026. The Cardinals want to figure out what that next core of players will look like after 2 rather disappointing years in St. Louis. The unfortunate part of this transition period is that the Cardinals haven't really solved a lot of their questions, and they come in with 2 weeks left in spring training, still trying to answer what kind of team they want to be. The mission for St. Louis this year is to win as many games as possible while giving as much playing time to as many young players as possible. They want to see what their young guys like Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, who can stay healthy, what that looks like. They also felt a little bit like they could still compete, mainly because they had a lot of veterans that they were not able to trade or didn't want to be traded. Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras expressed a desire to remain in St. Louis when the Cardinals first announced this transition period, so of course they remained. The Cardinals were unable to trade Nolan Arenado despite a 4-month attempt, so he'll be back at the hot corner for 2025. And they did not trade Ryan Helsley, which was surprising throughout the industry for a team that's looking to reset. They decided to keep their closer, set a franchise record 49 saves last year. So it seems like the Cardinals want to win, but they also want to see what they have in the future. It remains a little bit unclear to see how they can do that.
It's going to give you a lot of storylines to follow along with the season, no doubt about that. Now, Taylor, let's go back to you for a minute here because the Cubs are kicking things off early this season. They're going to Tokyo, and it's a big homecoming for Shota Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki. So how do those preparations start to ramp up when you've got a little bit of an earlier jump than everybody else?
Yeah, a lot of that was already done in the offseason. You just had pitchers start to throw earlier. Position players, picked up their routine maybe a little bit sooner than they would have in a normal season. But I think the message around the Japan series is we should all be very grateful for this opportunity. It's one that only a select group of teams get to experience. And so Craig has been very adamant about having his players lean into the experience. And then it's going to be awesome. I mean, you mentioned Imanaga and Seiya, and then obviously on the Dodgers side with Yamamoto and Ohtani, like it's just going to be so cool to see the way that all of those players are received. And I would say that's the excitement around camp, is just to see those players in their home country and the reception from fans. There's a lot of excitement for sure.
It's that globalization of the game that we love so much. Taylor, Olivia, Hannah, Sophia, and Katie, thank you all for joining us, representing the National League Central, getting us ready for the season. It's going to be an awesome one.
Baseball is the best.
Baseball is the
Baseball
best.
is the best.
He has homered on opening day in 4 straight openers. Tyler O'Neill has just set a record by homering in 5 consecutive opening days.
5 opening days in a row. New record.
He's got it all to himself. He was tied with 4 other guys, and he is Mr. Automatic on opening day.
Baseball is the best.
Baseball is the best.
Baseball is the best.
We got a great pitching matchup. This game is going to be big in Japan. Shota Imanaga for the Cubs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto going for the Dodgers.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto with 8 strikeouts over those 4 innings and just the 1 run. 8 Ks, no walks.
Shota just slid in there nicely and has just gone out there and continued to perform. And
I mean, this is 10 out of 10 what you could have expected.